Now, one more thing on this I want to talk to. You've already mentioned this a little bit, but let's dive into it more. I bet a lot of people out there listening to this or watching the video version have heard this before, and that's when you get your black belt, it's almost like starting over again. It's like that's when your training and your learning like really starts. How do you feel about that? Do you think that there's some accuracy to that? Would you sort of modify it? Just how has your training changed and your approach to training changed after you got your black belt?
Well, I will say I still play a lot of the same positions.
Yeah.
That I played through the colored belts.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I don't know. Like, I feel like during those times, like I said, like I'm night and day different than I was 6 years ago.
Nice car alarm going off out there.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
No, if I could talk about it like technically speaking, I was like in the past I was probably more like technique based, like okay, this technique, then this technique, then this technique. Whereas now it's more like conceptually based, my game, and like I think about like the position and okay, so if he does this, I do this. If he does this, I do that. So it's like the concept of the position, as opposed to just like, hey, I'm gonna get to this position, I'm gonna try this technique. No, I'm gonna get to this position, and then based on what's happening, I can go here and there. So technically speaking, it feels like I started over and started thinking about how I do jiu-jitsu differently. But man, I don't know. I don't think so really. I think it's all money in the bank at the end of the day, right? Like everything that we did in those lower belts and even in wrestling and in submission grappling at Team Quest or training for MMA or whatever, it all has made me the grappler I am today.
Yeah.
But I definitely did start taking things a lot more serious when I got to the black belt, and especially when I started competing in the black belt.
Right.
I definitely cut fat, literally and physically, and you know, it is different. But I don't really feel like I started over.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And one thing that sort of was I don't know if it was an epiphany, might not be the right word, but I had this sort of like overwhelming sensation of like kind of analyzing my own game once I got mine and trying to do as honest of an assessment as I could about like the strongest part of my game or strongest parts of my game, and basically I wanted to feel like I was a black belt in every area.
Yeah.
And there were some where I felt very confident in, and then there were some that I was like, I don't feel like I have the skill level that I want to have in this area. And so after the promotion, that really kind of sparked me to be like, you know what, I need to stop neglecting this area.
Yeah.
I had been really playing to my strengths in certain areas a lot at the expense of developing other areas of my game, with actually takedowns being the biggest one. And I was like, I don't want it to stay this way. Like, just because I got my black belt today doesn't mean that like I'm as good as I'm ever going to get at these things. Like you can still grow and develop a ton. And that was one of the biggest things for me is sort of like, I don't know why it sparked that. I don't know if other people out there have had that same sort of thing, but it really made me sort of try to do an honest assessment of like, where are my strengths? And do I feel like I'm at the level I want to be at in every area?
I'll be honest, I think that I respect that mindset a lot, and I feel that resonates with me a lot. But I do feel like there are some people out there that they get to a black belt and they just think that they're the truth, right? And they don't have to, but they might also just kind of like isolate themselves and just train with their little circle and their small pool. But anybody that understands the reality of their position in life and in jiu-jitsu itself is like, man, it's a big pool and there's so much to learn and there's so many places to improve that even your A game can still be improved upon, right? And I would agree 100% with that. I definitely took a look at my game and I was like, I suck when I get people in a mount position. Right? This is one of the most dominant positions in jiu-jitsu. Why would I abandon this position to go to knee or something, or to go to take their back or something? It's like I need to improve on this position, work on my smother, work on them giving up their arms. And I think that's a real accurate comparison.